Hey, what's going on, guys? Have you ever thought about how you can improve your relationship, whether that's a marriage or you've been in a relationship for a long time and you're looking to get married, or maybe you just started out and you know these challenges are going to come up, but you want to know, how do I navigate those challenges? How do I improve my relationship day in and day out? Well, you're in luck because that's exactly what we discuss in today's episode with Cody Butler. In this episode, you can expect to hear how we as men can improve our marriage, how to create accountability in our marriage, how we can handle our fights in a healthier manner, and so much more. Let's dive into today's topic. Welcome back, or if it's your first time, I'm glad to have you here. I'm Matt Fendora, and you're tuned in to the Choose to Live, Love, and Grow podcast, where we journey together toward becoming the best version of ourselves. Using mind, body, heart, and spirit as the anchors of our podcast, join me as we set sail into the depths of self-discovery, unraveling the interconnected layers that shape our growth. If you resonate with today's conversation, consider subscribing to the podcast. Your support means the world to us and ensures you never miss an empowering episode. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Choose to Live, Love, and Grow podcast, your go-to destination for personal growth and empowerment. Whether you're a loyal listener or a newcomer, I'm grateful for your presence. Today, we have the opportunity to chat with Cody Butler. Cody Butler is the founder of the Better Marriage and the creator of Marriage Recovery Program, teaching couples how to repair, restore, and rebuild intimacy, communication, and love in their marriage. He's also the author, #1 best-selling author of Cut the BS, a no-nonsense guide to happiness. He's been featured on Fox, ABC, and NBC and has worked with over 2,000 people to date. Through Better Marriage, Cody's helping couples get their skills needed to succeed in today's new normal. Some of Cody's proudest accomplishments include being a husband and a father. What makes Cody's heart sing? His kids. Without further ado, here's Cody. How are you doing today,
I'm
Cody?
spectacular. Thank you for having me, Matt.
I'm excited to dive into with an expert on relationships and just going about talking about everything we can do, to the things that we're not doing right, to the things we should be doing, and then how do we improve upon
Mhm.
it. But before we get into that, what I would love to do is learn a little bit more about you and your background and why you decided that your topic that you were going to focus on is marriage.
Well, to answer the last question, the why do I focus on marriage as a topic or a core focus? It's because your work works on you harder than you work on your work. What you do for a living affects you. It impacts you, and it's like I guarantee your work is impacting you more than you're impacting your work. So when we spend 8, 10, 12 hours a day, excuse me, 5 to 7 days a week doing it, it's like I would suggest choosing very wisely. And it's like, yes, we go to work to make money, of course we do, but at the end of the day, it's like I want more than just money out of life. So I am my #1 student. It's like working in the marriage industry holds me accountable. When I say you should be doing this and you should be doing that, it holds me accountable. It improves me. And ultimately, it's like marriage is it's the most important relationship we have, and I always want it to be improving. So my work works on me harder than I work on it. That's why I chose that. My background is like I'm a bit of a renaissance man. I've done a lot of things, but uh, ultimately it's like it doesn't matter what I've done. I've been successful and unsuccessful in a number of areas, but ultimately it's like if I'm successful and my relationships are broken, I'm unhappy. And if I'm in a happy relationship, but everything else is not working, I'm happy. Our relationships really are like the key underlying principle is determine whether we're going to be happy in life or not. So uh, after going through a number of broken relationships and kind of realizing that that really is, to some extent, the secret to happiness and the secret to life, uh, I became really obsessed with finding the solutions to having a great relationship. And then once I found those solutions, applied them to my life, I realized that other people also have those problems and need those solutions, and started a long 20 plus year journey of to get to where we are today, Matt.
Love that. And I mean, I could speak to that as well in the sense that that's why I focus on mindset for young men is because one, I am a man. And so I know the things that I need to work on, right? And I'd rather share that with somebody else as I'm working on them myself, because again, that holds me accountable too. Because if I'm telling you, hey, this is the right thing to do, then I'm going to have to implement that too. Otherwise, I'm just a hypocrite.
That's exactly right. I mean, the number of times that I've been getting ready to be very short with my wife, or get verbally, whatever you want to call it, like, and I stop and think, I'm like, if my audience was watching me right now, what would they think? And the number of times that what I do holds me accountable to be a better husband and a better father. And it's like we all need that accountability. Accountability is really the number one thing. And look, you haven't asked me the question, but you mentioned working with number what with young men. It's like, well, what's the number one thing anybody needs in their life? It's an accountability partner. It's somebody that's going to hold you accountable to a higher standard, whether it's in relationships. It doesn't matter. It's like without accountability, we really, really struggle. So that's kind of where I'm at with that.
So on that, then, how do we create that accountability in our marriage?
Well, I think for one, Matt, it's understanding that you need it. For one, like you can't solve a problem you don't think you have. And especially as men, like this is I work predominantly with men, as I believe you do as well. And the reason is like in relationships is because like we need the help, man. So and as men, we have a tendency to not ask for that help or not look for that accountability. A woman will have a much more natural instinct to go to a peer group and ask for help. Like women go and ask for help as a first point of action. Men go
Mhm.
and ask for help as a last resort.
Yeah.
We don't show up and ask for help until we absolutely need it. And it's like it's awesome that your audience are young men, because it's like I usually work with men that are at the other end, and it's like their wives have just left them, and it's like don't let it get to that, guys. Like learn the skills when you're young.
Mhm.
Understand you don't have it, and if you don't get it, you're going to be very unhappy ultimately. And I think one of the most important things, we can talk about it as we go on, but one of the most important philosophies to adopt as a young man or a man in general is like you've got to say, I don't know what I don't know. You've got
Yeah.
to start to believe, I don't know what I don't know. I know what I do know, and I think I know what I don't know, but the reality is you don't know what you don't know. And it's not what you know that you do right that gets you the results. It's what you don't know that's hurting you. It's what you don't know that's holding you back. The quicker you can realize that you don't know what you don't know, and you start to bring people in that do know a little bit more and can give you that outside perspective, the faster you're going to start to get the result that you're looking for in your life, whether that's wealth, health, finance, relationship. It doesn't matter, man. You name it.
Mhm. So how do we change that? How do we get men to stop making asking for help as a last resort?
Look, I think it's just a case of you've really got to decide what you want, and then ask yourself, do I want to spend a lifetime getting it, or do I want to shortcut that? Do I want to shortcut that? I mean, the key to every aspect of life, one is knowing what you want. Like that's the number one problem I think that most people have. They don't really know what they want. You say, well, what do you want, Matt? Like I'll ask my wife, what do you want? What do you want from me right now? And she goes, well, I don't want this and I don't want that and I don't want to go there. Well, what do you want for dinner? Well, I don't want steak tonight and I don't want chicken. I didn't ask you what you don't want. That
Yeah.
doesn't help me.
Yeah.
You already don't have what that. You don't already don't have that. It's like the question is, what do you want? And I'm a really firm believer that like life will give you whatever you ask for. The key really to a successful life, the key really to a happy life is becoming really good at asking.
Mhm.
There's a Bible phrase, the storyteller in the Bible tells us, you have not because you ask not. You don't have it because you didn't ask for it. And you didn't ask for it because you didn't really get really clear and defined on what you want. So I think as men, like especially as young men, like what do you want from life? What do you want your health to look like? What do you want your emotional mental state to be like? What do you want that internal space that you live in to be? What do you want your relationships to look like? What do you want your finances to be? What do you want to be able to do? Where do you want to be able to go? Who do you want to be able to interact with? How much influence do you want? Like these are questions that we just don't ever ask ourselves.
Mhm.
And the men I work with, I tell them, tell me what you want, and I'll tell you how to get it. Well, I don't want this, Cody. I'm like, ask me what you want and I'll tell you how to get it. And I'm sure that's true with you too. It's like it's really getting focused and going, well, if you want an exceptional relationship, if you want to be with we all talk about being alpha males, but if you want an alpha female, if you want a top shelf female, decide that you want a top shelf female as a partner, and then ask yourself the question, well, who do I have to be attract that woman. Or if you want to be a billionaire, fine, set that course and then ask yourself the question, well, who would I have to be? What skills do I need to get? Where am I lacking? Where can I build up?
How do we, as men, get that courage, I guess, in a relationship to tell our wives this is what we want?
I think that there's some fundamental approaches to that. Like one of the things we talk about is like marriage is somewhere you go, a relationship is somewhere you go to give, not get, for one.
Mm.
And I think this is one of the major breaking points of a marriage. Is why I see it fail, is because people go into a marriage with the expectation that it's somewhere they go to get, not somewhere that they go to give. So really, like, how do you get what you want out of a marriage? Well, like the answer to that question is determining why you're getting into the marriage in the first place. If you're going into the marriage to get, don't go into it. Don't go into it.
Yeah.
Because it's not somewhere you go to get. It's like children, right? Like children are going to take. You asked me the question a few minutes ago, what like makes my heart sing? It's my children. My children do nothing but take.
Yeah.
They do nothing but take. But you know what? It's the most satisfying, rewarding experience that I've ever had in my life, being a father. I mean, it's like they give nothing. Literally, they give nothing. They take my money, they take my time, they take my resources, they take my patience, they take everything from me. And I don't ask the question, how do I get what I want from my children? My children are what I want. That, and marriage is exactly the same. It's like the question, how do I get what I want out of my marriage? Well, the marriage has to be what you want.
Yeah.
You mentioned a book, Cut the BS and No Nonsense Guide to Happiness. But what's the key to happiness? It's contribution.
Mm.
It's contribution. That is truly the key to happiness. Why are you doing this podcast right now? Because you're contributing.
Mm-hmm.
You're not doing it for any other reason. Excuse me. We've got it. And the key to happiness is contribution, but that is why marriage is a beautiful thing if you understand. It's why children are a beautiful thing if you understand, because it is the ultimate environment of contribution. You will not get an environment where you have the opportunity to contribute more than with your children, and you will not find an environment that is more satisfying than your children. The same is true with marriage. It's not somewhere you get. What you get is the ability to contribute, and then the byproducts of that contribution is happiness. If you're going, well, if your question is like, how do I get more sex out of my marriage, Cody, or how do I get this out of my marriage? It's like, contribute more to your marriage.
Yeah.
If you want more, give more. If you can only have more because you become more, that's the answer to the question. You can only have more because you become more. That's it. If you don't become more, you can't have any more.
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense, because if you're expecting, I think expectation hurts marriages so much, because you're expecting something out of your partner, and then when they don't give you that in return, like you feel disconnected from your marriage. And it's because you're expecting them to give you something or you're expecting to get something instead of giving them something.
Exactly right. And again, the children relationship versus the marriage relationship is a great example. How many people go into deciding to have children with anything other than the expectation that then you're not getting any sleep for the next 7 years. You're not going on a date with you. You're not getting any sex for the next God knows how many years. Your life as you know it is over. And in return for giving up the life that you know it, as you know, that life ending, you get to change diapers every night. You get to stay awake every night. You get to deal with crying, whingy kids. You get to deal with, expense on top of expense on top of expense on top of expense. You get to worry nonstop. It's like you get, asking how do I get what I want out of a marriage is the same as saying, well, how do I, going into a relationship with having a child or having a baby? It's like you go into it knowing that it's nothing but an uphill slog from this point, right? Nothing but that. Nobody, I don't think, has that any other than that expectation. And why is it such a rewarding experience? Because you go into it with those expectations. But marriage is the same. When you go into a marriage, it is going to be an uphill fight from this point. But it's the most beautiful thing ever, in the same way a child or children. It's like it's an uphill battle from this point, but it's the most beautiful thing ever. But the problem is we have a realistic expectation of what we're going to get with children. We don't with our wife. You know, if we start going to our children and going, you're letting me down, you're disappointing me, you're not meeting my needs, it's like you're just going to damage those kids. And it's
Mm.
like you deal with trauma with young men. It's like I'm sure you understand that.
Hmm.
You know, it's like parents that have gone into the situation unprepared or, you know, asking something from the child was never there to give.
Hmm. So speaking on needs, are the needs different between the male and the female, man and woman? Is there a difference in
Yeah,
the needs they need?
yeah. I mean, yeah. The man needs communication, the woman needs sex, right? I'm sorry, the man needs sex, the woman needs communication. That's it. It's like every couple I work with, and I don't generally work with couples. I work with men mostly, but it's like here's what you want. You want more sex, you want more communication, and both of you want to fight less. And why is that? Because a woman feels loved and connected when she's communicated with. A man feels loved and connected when he's getting sex. It's like both parties want the same thing. The destination is the same. That you want to feel valued as a human being. You want to feel special as a human being. You want to feel like you've got something to contribute.
Hmm.
You want to feel like you're here for a reason. A man kind of arrives at that point through sex. A woman kind of arrives at that point through communication, emotional safety. But nevertheless, the destination is the same.
Hmm.
So people need the same things, but the path, sex for a man, communication for a woman.
So how does a man give the woman their needs? How do they meet them at their needs?
Fundamentally, the only need a woman has is or what she wants out of the marriage is the ability to be herself. So where like the guys that I work with, you know, whether you're going to have a happy marriage and whether your wife's going to come back or, you know, or whether she's not, it's going to come down to one fundamental thing, and that's emotional safety. Does your wife have emotional safety? That's what she needs. And what is emotional safety? Let's just put a definition on it quickly. It's like it's the percentage your wife can be herself, the percentage of the time. So can your wife be 100% of herself 100% of the time around you? And the answer to that question is almost always no. It's like there are certain opinions that she's not going to be allowed to have. There are certain behaviors that she's not going to be allowed to engage in. There are certain things that if she does it, you're going to shut it down or she's going to be punished for it. You know, and the reality is like we're not responsible for anyone's behavior other than ourselves. I'm not responsible for your behavior on this interview. I'm not responsible for your preparation. I'm not responsible for the quality of the recording. You are. I'm responsible for what I show up with. Like I'm responsible for my preparation, right? It's like I'm responsible for my behavior, not yours. But I think in a marriage, a lot of times, like the man thinks he's responsible for the woman. It's like she's wrong in her thinking, and I need to change that. Or she's wrong in her behavior, and I need to change that. And basically, what you're saying to your partner when you do that is you're not good enough. And not only are you not good enough, I'm morally and intellectually superior to you, and I'm going to tell you what's right and wrong. And if you don't agree with me on my opinion of what's right and wrong, I'm going to correct you. And instead of it being a partnership where it's two people that are just traveling together, I mean, what I told my wife when we started this journey together was I said, I'm going on a journey. This is where I'm going. This is who I want to become. This is what I want to do. This is the impact I want to have. This is the area I want to work in. This is where I'm going. And you're welcome to join me on that journey as long as you want or as little. You can travel with me for a short period of time or you can travel with me for a long period of time. It's like we're just traveling partners. We're just traveling on this road together. We just happen to want to go on the same road in the same direction. It's like the offer is not, hey, I'm morally and intellectually superior to you and you can come with me and I'll teach you everything I know. And if you tell me stuff that I don't agree with, I'll just shut that down. The reality is, Matt, that and it's for men too, but mostly women, it's like there's no room. Women leave the relationship because there's no space for her in it. There's no room for her in the marriage. There's no room for her opinion. There's no room for her way of seeing things. There's no room for her way of doing things. She has to reduce herself so significantly to where she can be maybe 10% of herself, 10% of her time. She has to lose 90% of herself to be in this relationship. And there comes a point when the woman just goes, I'm not doing it anymore, man. I'm not happy to sacrifice 90% of myself to be with you. I'm not happy to lose 90% of myself to be with you. It's too expensive. Versus just going, hey, look, You're a free agent, wife. Like, I'm not responsible for your behavior. You are. I'm responsible for how I behave towards you. I'm not responsible for how you behave towards me or the world.
How do we navigate that if that is what the fight is, right?
Yeah.
The wife feels like she's unable to be herself. How do we navigate that fight in a healthy way?
I think step number one is recognizing that you're doing it. Like if you right now, if you went, Cody, I don't agree with you, and you start arguing, I'm just going to go, okay, that's fine. See you later. Like you're certainly entitled to your opinion. It's your show. You're certainly entitled to your opinion. It's like, but the fact that you're giving me that space, right? You're like, well, you haven't said if you agree with me or disagree. You just allowed me to voice my opinion. You haven't said if you agree or disagree. And it doesn't matter if you agree or disagree because it's my opinion. And it's like, am I allowed to be wrong? Are you allowed to be wrong? And this is the thing. It's like we don't part of the problem as men, we don't allow the other person the privilege of being wrong. It's like, well, if you want to be wrong, be wrong. Or if you think you're wrong, you're wrong. It's like that's fine. It's like you're allowed to be wrong. You're allowed to have a different opinion. You're allowed to have a different viewpoint. And honestly, like Matt, for me, like my definition, like the way I view my own mental health and the way I look at other people's mental health is like the degree to which you're mentally healthy is the degree to which you can be in the presence of an opposing opinion and be okay with that and be unaffected by that. If you can't be around an opposing opinion to yours and be okay with it, you're not mentally healthy. And this is the problem with America and the world today. It's like look at what's going on. It's like I don't give a crap which side of the blue or red. It doesn't matter to me. Like I don't like Donald Trump and I don't like Joe Biden. I dislike both of them. But it's like the country is so utterly mentally ill right now. It's like the Bidenites just lose their mind when, a Trump supporter shows up and vice versa, man. Trump supporters are so deranged that like when somebody shows up with a democratic view, it's like both sides are completely and utterly incapable of being around an opposing viewpoint. Completely and utterly incapable. And it's like, to me, that just is an indication that the entire Western world is in a state of mental decay, real mental problems.
Mm-hmm.
And you see the disintegration that's going on in the country. You just see the disintegration that's going on in the West as a result of that. Well, that's just a micro view or macro view of the microcosm, right? The microcosm is your marriage. It's like if your wife supports Trump and you support Biden, it's like, is this going to be conflict within the relationship? Well, of course it is. But why? Why can't she support that person? Why isn't she allowed that view?
Mm-hmm.
Or we just go, well, no, I'm sorry, but you're wrong. Well, maybe she is wrong, but why isn't she allowed to be wrong if she wants to be wrong? It's like, this is the thing, right? It's like when you will not allow the other person to hold a point of view, you're mentally unstable. And I think that's a good canary in the coal mine. When you look around and you go, well, I can't be around liberals, or I can't be around conservatives, or I can't be around Christians, or I can't be around atheists, or I can't be around this. It's like, problem's not them, bro. It's you. It's you. And it's like, that is the fundamental start of everything. When you go, I am the problem. Now we have an accurate diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have a baseline diagnosis and we can move to an effective treatment plan. Well, you think somebody else is the problem, or you think something else. Like, no, there's no hope, dude. Like, the world is not going to change to accommodate you. You can change to accommodate the world, though.
So let's say that somebody made that recognition, they have the self-awareness, like, ooh, like I see that I'm not giving them their space. How do they work through that to where they can give somebody their space to be right or wrong, or have their opinion without jumping down their throat saying, no, you can't have that opinion?
Look, I think it comes down to, again, it's like you've got to know what you want. It's back to the beginning, and like really, like the things that are worth developing. It's not like, what do I want? I want $1 million. Okay, well, that's great. You want $1 million. Let me ask you the next question. Well, who would you have to become to make $1 million? That's the real question. Who would you have to become to make $1 million?
Yeah.
And then you have to start moving towards that. And it's like, if you're in a position to where you can't tolerate another viewpoint, let's just say, then you've got to ask yourself the question, do I want to be a man who's incapable of tolerating another viewpoint? No. Okay. So you need to set the destination, the goal of being, I am a man who is accepting of all viewpoints.
Mm-hmm.
You have to agree with them. Like, I've got personal beliefs, man. I'm very conservative in my personal beliefs, and I have very specific views on a lot of topics. And if you ask me, like, I've got very specific views, but I'm very liberal in what I think people should be allowed to do. If you're not hurting people, people should be allowed to do it. I think you should be allowed to do that, and that. I think you should be allowed to do all those things if you're not hurting somebody. Do I agree with it? No. Would I choose it? No. Would I teach it to my kids? No. Am I adamantly opposed to it? Yes. But should they be allowed to do what they want to do? Because at the end of the day, I ask the question all the time, are you going to do you think you should be allowed to hold your view? Yes. Well, why shouldn't then treat others as you want to be treated? You reap what you sow. If you want to have the space to have your own view, then you best start creating a space that other people can have their own view as well. So the answer to the question is you've got to look at yourself and say, who do I want to be as a man? Who am I as a man? Like, life is a cause and effect game, Matt. Like, I talk about consciousness. Consciousness is not some woolly spiritual experience. Consciousness is simply understanding, being conscious enough in the moment right now to understand that life is a cause and effect game, and the next words that come out of my mouth are causational, and it's going to have an effect. What I do when I leave this office is a causational event. What I say to my wife tonight is a causational event, and it is at some point going to have an effect. Life is a game of cause and effect. Everything you say, do, think, act, go, be, whatever, it is causational and it will have an effect. And the life that you're experiencing is nothing more than the effect of the causes. Now, consciousness to me is nothing more than going, what is happening right now is a causational event, and am I aware of the consequences? Am I conscious of the consequences that what I'm saying is going to create? If I get on this show and I go, I love Donald Trump, I love Donald Trump, I love Donald Trump, I love Donald Trump, that's a causational effect, and that's going to impact my career one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
It will have impact. Or if I say I love Biden, that even that small behavior is causational. It will have impact. Someone will watch it and go, "Oh, I like this guy. I really hate this guy."
Yeah.
And it's just becoming aware in the moment of going, "What is happening right now is a causational event, and am I aware of the impact that this cause is going to create? Am I aware of the effect?" And that is when you start to live a conscious life. That's when you start to live a life that you choose instead of just going through. And it's like you do something and you have no awareness of the impact that it's going to have down the road. Everything is a cause. Everything causes an effect. So start to develop who you want to be as a man. Who do I want to, am I a man that doesn't give people space? Am I a man that, is that who I am? No, I'm a man that's patient. I'm a man that's kind. I'm a man that's slow to anger. I'm a man that creates space for people. I'm a man that's conscious in the moment. I'm a man that does this and that. These are all causational events that will lead me to the life that I want. Mm-hmm. Versus just going, oh, I'm just going to speak without thinking.
If you could speak only to the men, what advice would you give them on how they can improve their relationship?
Prove themselves. Your wife, your mirror, your mirror, your wife is a mirror.
Mm-hmm.
And look, I work with men all the time. And they get the questions, how do I change my wife? How do I change my wife? Well, look, here's the thing. Your wife is, that's an insane question. Mm-hmm. Because stand in front of a mirror, the image in the mirror is incapable of change. You can't, like the mirror, when you stand in front of a mirror, you can't say to that mirror, raise your right hand, and the image in the mirror changes to raise the right hand. The only way the image in that mirror is going to change is when you raise your right. If you raise your right hand, the image in the mirror will change. Mm-hmm. The image in and of itself is incapable of change. It cannot change. And the same, like we're just talking about marriage right now, but this is fundamental truth of the world, right? Like what you are seeing is nothing more than a reflection of you. The world that you see is a 3D printout of you. Like 100 people could watch this interview and you say, okay, well, what, ask the 100 people, what's your opinion of Matt and what's your opinion of Cody? You'll get 100 different views.
Yeah.
Why will you get 100 different views? Because you're seeing me and you're seeing you through your lens, through your perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And your experience of the world will color how you see me. And your experience of the world will color, like, if your experience of the world is somewhat similar to mine, you might listen to me and go, the guy's got some sense. But if your experience of the world is completely different to me, you might look at me and go, the guy's a complete idiot. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I haven't changed. My message hasn't changed. What's the difference? It's two different paradigms that are viewing the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Your world is nothing more than a 3D printout of your mind. That's all it is. It's a mirror. The world is mirroring back to you what you're given, and that for you to think that that image in the mirror is going to change without you changing is utter insanity. It's utter insanity.
Mm-hmm.
You're insane, literally. But as soon as you realize, like, everything I'm seeing, everything I'm experiencing, everything that's going on in my life is nothing more than a reflection. And I have the ability to change that reflection by changing me. That's when you've taken true power. That's when you're in control of your life. It's like there's nothing worse than the victim mentality. It's like, people go, "Oh, my wife's doing this, and my wife's doing that, and my wife's the cause," or "You deal with trauma, my dad did this, my mum did that, I got bullets." So what? Okay, well, so all of your problems are external to you and somewhere else. Let's assume that's true. What power do you have to act upon that? Zero.
Mm-hmm.
Zero. So you're telling me that your problem or your problems is caused by an event you have zero control over.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty hopeless situation to be in.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a positive message. Versus going, I'm the creator of everything. Everything I have in my life I created, good, bad, ugly. Maybe I don't know how I created it. I'm not saying that you know how you created it, but when you say everything I have that is good, I created, and everything that's bad in my life, I created. And because everything that I have right now is my creation, that puts the power back in my hands. I now have complete control over my destiny, over my future. My destiny and my future is up to me.
Mm-hmm.
If my destiny and future is up to you, then that makes me very uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And when you adopt the victim role, the victim mentality, you completely disempower yourself and you put yourself in a position of a very, 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 very mediocre life at best.
Mm-hmm.
At best, that's your best hope is a mediocre life. Your reality is probably one of misery. That's probably your reality.
Yeah. So let's say that one person in the marriage is putting in the work because they're looking in the mirror and they're saying, "Hey, I want to make
Yep.
the change." And so they start putting in the work, but their partner isn't putting in the work. What happens in the relationship then?
Doesn't matter. I mean, let's look at the marriage promise. It's a one-way promise. I promise to love you and cherish you and behave a certain way towards you, irrespective of how you behave back to me.
Hmm.
I promise to have and to hold, to love and to cherish, for better or for worse, until death do us part. I promise to behave a certain way towards you in every and any circumstance, irrespective of how you behave back to me. That's the promise that you made your wife. And now if you're going, well, that's fine, but what if she's not like giving back? Like, well, what does it matter? Like, where's it doesn't matter, dude. Like, you made a one-way unconditional promise to your wife saying, I'm going to treat you a certain way regardless,
Mm-hmm.
for better or for worse. Now, the problem is, like, we never read the small print in the contract. We never assumed that the worst part would show up. It's like, if you're making all effort in the marriage and your wife's giving you nothing back, is that covered under for better or for worse? It's covered under that clause in the contract, which you agreed to, by the
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
So man up, own what you did. You made a bad deal, but nevertheless you made a bad deal. You got to own it now. Like, or the alternative, the question is, I'm in a situation I don't want to be in, but what am I a man of integrity? A man of integrity, it doesn't matter what she does. You promise to love and to cherish no matter what. For better or for worse. But what if she cheats on me? That's for worse. That's in the for worse part. You promise to love and cherish her till death do you part, no matter what. And a man of integrity upholds that. And it's like, now, if you're telling me that you want out because you're not willing to uphold your deal, you are not a man of integrity.
Mm.
And is that attractive or unattractive to your wife? Are you the problem or is she the problem? It's like, she's married to a man that has no integrity. Yet you're questioning her integrity. Is that leadership? Is you telling your wife you have no integrity when you're demonstrating no integrity? And it's like, again, we can bring this back to like, she's mirroring your behavior. If she's not making an effort, it's because you're not making an effort.
Mm.
I mean, look, it's like this, man. There's success is formulaic and it's unfailing, as is failure. But people understand failure. It's very easy to understand failure as being formulaic. Are there a set of actions that you could take in the next 30 minutes that would ruin your life? Unfailingly, 100 times out of 100.
Yeah.
Is failure formulaic? Can I give you a formula that will guarantee failure?
Yes.
The same is true with success. Success is equally as formulaic as failure. Just failure is obvious, man. We know. It's like we know the formula for failure, and it never fails. Success is exactly the same. That there's a formula for success that never fails. In the same way that there's a formula. I could give you actions that will absolutely categorically ruin your life in the next 60 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
The same is true on the other side, and it's like, you know, and I'm not saying do this, obviously, just for demonstration purposes only. If I say, you know, go out and get drunk and get in your car and mow some people down in your car, what are the chances of you doing that and it not ending badly? Like, it's going to end badly. In the same way that if I go, do this, this, and this, and it will end well, and then the person going, well, it hasn't, I've done that and it hasn't ended well. No, you haven't done it. You haven't done it. You just think you've done it. Which, again, getting back to point one, get accountability, man. The number one thing we tell men in our program is never grade your own homework. Don't grade your own homework. Because you go, the thing I hear, I've done that. I call it the I've done that boys, right? We've got a group of I've done that boys. Cody, my wife, yeah, well, here's what you need to do. I've done that, Cody. No, you haven't. Because the data suggests otherwise. You can't do that and not get a positive result. You can't. Any more than you can do that and not get a negative result. This is formulaic. It's scientific. Success and failure is not chance. You're not lucky or unlucky. You're not successful or unsuccessful. It's like success is a cause, or success is, you know, an effect, right? In response to cause, as is failure. Failure is an effect in response to cause. You know, and ultimately what it comes down to is you can't pursue these things directly. So happiness, for example, or a happy marriage, for example, you can't pursue it directly any more than you can pursue ice directly. You know, and let me explain that. If you want ice, you have to understand the elements and the environment that ice shows up in. Like, we all know it, right? If you want ice, you need water in a sub-zero environment, freezing environment. If you put water into a sub-zero environment, how often does it turn to ice? 100 times out of 100. You don't need to get down on your knees and go, Jesus, my drinks are too hot and it's uncomfortable. I need ice. Please, please, Jesus, bring me ice. It's like you don't need to do that. It's like if you create the environment in which ice shows up in, you get ice 100 times out of 100. And if I say to you, Matt, you want ice, you're telling me you want ice, that's what you want. Okay, well, go get some water, go put it in a freezer that's sub-zero, that's freezing. And you go, well, I've done that, Cody, but I still haven't got ice. Like, what's my response?
No, you haven't.
You haven't done it. You haven't. And a happy marriage or happiness or success or money, anything, it's the same. It's all just effect, man. It's all just effect. And it's like, if you want a happy marriage, you have to know the elements that go into a happy marriage and you have to bring them together. You have to get the water and you have to get a freezer and you have to bring it together. And if you do that, and you're telling me I've done that, but I don't have a happy, well, you haven't done it. No, you haven't. I'm sorry. The data suggests otherwise. Like, there's no way you've done it. And again, this is why grading your own homework is devastating. People go, I've done that. No, you haven't done it. And you don't even have the sense to know that you haven't done it because the results are not there. Someone that goes, well, yeah, I went and got water, Cody, and I put it in a freezer and it didn't turn to ice. I haven't got ice. Like you either don't know what water is, you don't know what a sub-freezing, a sub-zero environment is, or you don't know both, or you just didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the only options.
Mm-hmm.
You telling me you did it and it didn't work is not on the list of options.
Mm-hmm. So if you could give 3 tips on what men can do today to work on their marriage, and they could, to improve their marriage, what would those 3 tips be?
One is like, my marriage will not get better till I get better. I am responsible. I am responsible. And responsible means, let's look at that word, response able.
Mm.
People go, I'm not responsible. You probably get it all the time. Like, I've suffered trauma. I'm not responsible for that. No, you're not. You didn't traumatize yourself, but you are responsible because you're response able. You're able to respond to the event. The event was given to you. The event was handed to you, but how you chose to respond was yours. You were response able to that event, right? You were able to respond to what happened. You were able to interpret what happened. You were able to give it meaning. You were able to decide where you were going to file that in the mental filing cabinet. You were able to respond. You were response able.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what a lot of guys don't get. They go, well, my wife, who cares, man? It doesn't matter. You're responsible. You're responsible to that situation. You're able to respond. So that's step number one. It's like you got to look at yourself. Everything starts with you.
Mm-hmm.
Your marriage can get better because you can get better, and it won't get better till you get better. Yeah, and that step number 2 really is taking ruthless responsibility, taking ruthless accountability. You can say my wife's the problem. Great, awesome. So is that a strategy? Blame your wife for your problems. Is that a strategy? Does that do things get better as a result?
Nope, never do.
Awesome. Never going to get better. It's never going to get better. You can say my wife says, yeah, all right, maybe she is. So what do you want me to do with that information? Like, it's not going to get better by pointing fingers. It's like, it's only going to get better when you take responsibility and change. And in that accountability, it's like I said, it's like you're responsible for your behavior, not hers. You're responsible for your responses, not hers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think number 3 is going to be, you got to get help. Get help. Like, life's a team sport, man. This game of life is a team sport. It's not an individual sport. It's not boxing or something like that. It's not an individual. It's a team sport. And it's like, you can't do it by yourself. Like, you can try if you want to, but until you recognize life is a team sport, you're not going to go very far. Until you stop pissing off the other players, you're not going to go very far. Like, it's ironic, like what happens in a marriage most times when I talk to people. It's like, you guys, do you understand? You're in a rubber life raft in the middle of the ocean, and you're throwing hand grenades at each other. This is not going to end well for anybody. Do you understand that?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, this marriage is a team sport. Life is a team sport, and if you're pissing off your teammates, you're probably not going to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
Where is a prima donna ever welcome in a team environment? Where is somebody who knows that they're right all the time ever welcome in a team environment? Where is somebody that never passes the ball welcome in a team environment? Where is somebody that thinks that they're the superstar and nobody else matters welcome in a team environment? It's like, when you start to look at marriage as a team sport, and your wife, life as a team sport, and your wife is your teammate, it's like, you're not making good decisions right now. Like, you can't win this game as a solo player, and you can't win this game pissing off all the other players.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same, that's your marriage. That's the microcosm, right? Let's move that out. And it's like, well, life's a team sport, man. Get a coach. And obviously I'm a coach. You're a coach. You go, well, Cody, you got some ulterior motives. Saying that, well, don't hire me then. Don't hire Matt. Do it yourself. It's like, I don't really care. Like, we're good, man. We're here to, we're good. It's like, don't take that on board if you don't want to. I'm just giving you my honest opinion. It's like, what team doesn't have a coach? What winning team doesn't have a coach?
Yeah.
And if a team is not winning, what is the first thing that team does?
Lose.
get rid of the coach. The team loses, exactly. If you got the team loses and then they get rid of the coach, I'm like, look at some of the great winning teams. Green Bay Packers. Who was the coach? Vince Lombardi. Who were the players? Can we name any of the players? Like, maybe it's like, who was the coach?
Mm-hmm.
Did that team get the credit because they were freaking awesome team, or did they get who gets the credit for that? It's like, get you a coach, man. Like any and it's like whatever area of life. If you're suffering from trauma, give Matt a call. If you need relationship help, give anyone a call. Give someone a call. Just don't do this by yourself, man. Like you can't do life by yourself, not
Mm-hmm.
successfully.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that was very hard for me for a long time. I'm not naturally a team player. I'm smarter than everybody else. I'm more brilliant than everybody else. I know more than everybody else. It's like my strategies are better than everybody else's. Why would I hire somebody, right? But then the reality is, well, how's that working out for you, Cody? Yeah, maybe I need to reevaluate my opinion here. Maybe I really need to reevaluate my point. So yeah, those would be the three things I would give, Matt.
Awesome. So now that we're getting near the end of the podcast, I have three questions which I ask all guests, and these are over the topics of what this podcast is, which is live, love, and grow. So the first question I have is, what advice can you share about how to create a life that leaves a positive impact on the world?
Look, it's getting clear about what that is. What do you want to do? So for me, like, I want to leave generational impact. Like the marriage. A marriage breaks down because the man, I'm just dealing with men here, right? Like women as well. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying women are faultless, but it's like these skills are passed on from generation to generation. If you don't have good relationship skills, it's because your father didn't have them. And he didn't have them because his father didn't have them. It's just passed down and passed down. And your legacy at this point is going to be what you give your children. Legacy for me is like, are you going to give your children the ability to love and give love and receive love, or are you going to give them the same brokenness? And it's like, if I can give a man the ability to love, to give love, and to receive love effectively, then he's going to pass that on to his children. And that's going to have impact 100 years from now, maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe 400 years from now. Who the heck knows, right? Like this is and the same with what you're doing here as well. The impact, if we can change somebody's mindset and we can give them skills that they don't have, that they can then pass on, whether it's having a great relationship with yourself, whether it's having great relationships with other people, the ability to feel love, experience love, give love, that will be passed on and passed on and passed on, and that will be experienced 100 years from now or more. And that's what you got to ask yourself. What do I want? What do I want my legacy to be? Do I just want to leave a house and some investment properties to my kid? Do I want to leave my kids broke? Do I want to leave them? What do I want to leave them with? You know, what do I want my legacy to be? And start thinking in terms of legacy. Everything I do now, Matt, is in terms of legacy, right? How does this impact my legacy? Like whether I come on this interview or not, it's like I'm thinking, well, how does this impact my legacy? And get that bigger picture thinking, going, okay, legacy, start thinking, what does my legacy look like? What am I going to leave behind? What are people going to say about me? Is anybody going to show up at my funeral? Is anybody going to care?
Yeah.
Is the world going to mourn when I pass? Or is the world just going to not even notice? And it's like, that will get you making different decisions. That will get you making different choices. That will get you making, cause and effect, right? It will get you entering into different causes, which will produce different effects. And when you start thinking in those terms and going, look, I want to leave the world a better place than I found it. That's one of my fundamental philosophies is leave everybody better than they found them. If you leave everybody better than you find them, then you're going to win. Like my goal is to leave you in a better place than I found you, even if it's the smallest amount. And if I do that, well, I've won. You've won. I've made a friend. Maybe I get invited back. Maybe that leads to something in the future. Whereas if I leave you in a worse place than you find me, that's it. We're done, man. That's it. This moment is spent and there's no further return on investment. So in thinking legacy, what's my legacy going to be? And having that philosophy, leave everybody and everything better than I find them. That then really starts to impact your decisions. And a lot of guys we work with, they want to start moving into coaching after they've been coached because they understand really it's about contribution, man. Find a place you can contribute.
So the second question I have is, what are some practical ways people can cultivate self-love?
Some practical ways. It becomes somebody who's lovable.
Mhm.
Raise your standards. Raise your standards. It's if you want more, you have to become more. If you like, honestly, like if I spoke to you the way you speak to yourself in your head sometimes, we wouldn't be friendly. We wouldn't be friends. You wouldn't respect me. You certainly wouldn't love me, right? If I said
Mhm.
some of the things to you that you say to yourself, if I spoke to you how you speak to yourself, you wouldn't like me.
Mhm.
Well, if my words have that impact on you, why do you not think your words have that same impact? Your words are things, man. Words are powerful. The
Mhm.
power of life and death is contained within the tongue. And self-talk is very important. It's like don't like my rule is I don't talk to myself in my self-talk in my head. I don't say anything to myself that I would not allow somebody else to say to me is the first thing.
Mhm.
There are certain ways I'm just not going to allow you to talk to me. If you say certain things, I'm just going to click the exit button and end the interview,
Mhm.
and vice versa, right?
Yeah.
So it's raising those standards. It's like what will I tolerate? What will I allow this person? Because like here's the truth: you don't get what you want in life. You get what you get. You don't get the highest standard you aspire to. You get the lowest standard you're willing to tolerate.
Mhm.
You don't get that highest thing. You go, oh, I want to make $1 million a year. Okay, that's what you want, but you'll settle for 50. So guess what you get? You don't get what you want. You get what you're willing to settle for.
Mhm.
So what's the solution to that? It's to raise your standards. You got to raise your standards. Like if you go, okay, well, how do I love myself? Well, stop talking to yourself in a way that's not, for one. And two, again, it's that contribution, man. It's like when you're giving, like when you're constantly contributing, you look at yourself and you go, you're getting it together, Cody. You're doing your best, man. You're making an effort. Yeah, you're screwing up, you're getting it wrong, but you're making an effort.
Mhm.
It's like it's getting on this call. I mean, it's something as simple as getting on this call. I could have pitched my product. I've got a program, man. I could have pitched it from start to finish and given nothing but a sales pitch. But it's like I'm not in the least bit interested in that. My goal is to give you actionable, usable advice, is to contribute to your podcast. If I just get on this call and just pitch from there's no value being given, right?
Mhm.
I'm not contributing to your audience. I'm not contributing to you.
Mhm.
But if I just get on the call and go, I'm just going to contribute to Matt, I'm just going to contribute to his mission, I'm just going to contribute to what he's doing, I'm here to give, not get something out of it. Well, I'll probably get something out of it anyway. But what I really get is I get off the call and go, you did the right thing, man. You didn't poop all over his show for your own self-interest. I did the right thing. And it's like I can look in the mirror and go, you're a guy that does the right thing, and that's lovable.
Mhm.
Or I can just poop all over your show for self-interest and then go look in the mirror and go, you're the kind of guy that just poops all over his message and his ministry and his for your own self-interest. Yeah, that's lovable. You're a lovable guy. Good job, Cody. Contribute, brother. Contribute. Contribution's everything, man.
Mhm. So third question I have is, what is one actionable tip someone can do today to grow 1% better?
Oh, that's a great question. What is one thing that you can do today? Look, it's gonna be resolved to raise your standards. It's gonna be the previous, like you got to look in the mirror and go, you're a good looking guy, but you're not getting the job done. What you've got us to this point, it's like you need to go fire yourself.
Mhm.
Go look in the mirror and go, you're getting fired. It's like if I'm the coach of Team Cody, and if I'm looking at the results in my life and going, Team Cody is not winning, it's like coach has got to go, man. Like new guys got to show up. And I think it's going to be that if you're not getting the results that you're looking for in your life, and that is the only reason you would want to get 1% better, you've got to take a hard look at yourself and go, I'm going to make some changes.
Mhm.
That's where it all starts. It's like, where does change start? It starts with the decision to make change. It's like until you do that, and again, like when everything changed for me, like I woke up one day and I go, not another day, not another hour, not another minute am I living in this miserable existence of a life. Not another hour, not another day, not another minute am I continuing in this sorry state. It changes today. It changes now.
Hmm.
I'm drawing a line. And it's like I'm not willing to tolerate that anymore. It's like I'm in a miserable state because, as I just said, life gives you what you're willing to tolerate, not what you aspire to. And it's not until you draw that line and go, I'm not willing to tolerate this anymore. Okay, well, what are you willing to tolerate? Bar goes up. And it look, it could be anything. So to give an actionable step, do something different, anything different. Like for me, like the easiest thing for me when I get to a point where I go, I'm not satisfied anymore, I want to change my life, I get up earlier.
Mm.
Because I don't know, like if I knew how to get the better life, I would have it already. I don't know. But what I do know for a fact is what I'm doing isn't going to get me that. So I've got to do something differently.
Mm.
What's one thing I can do today that is going to have a positive impact that's different in light of the fact that I don't know what the specific steps are? It's like, well, if I get up at 7, I'm going to get up at 6:45. And all I'm doing is I'm communicating to my mind, I'm communicating to myself, we're changing. Things are changing.
Hmm.
I don't know what those changes are going to be yet, but the life that I'm talking like I'm schizophrenic or something. Like our life is changing. Me and my internal self. It's like things are changing around here.
Hmm.
I don't know what they're going to be, but the life that we're living is not getting us to the results that we want. So something's going to change, and it's going to start with the time we get up in the morning, 6:45. I'm serious. And mind if you bitch and moan about that, if the alarm clock goes off at 6:45 and you make a big fuss, you'll be getting up at 6:30 tomorrow.
Yeah.
and then make that decision, man. What do you want? Like, what do you want? You tell me what you want, and I'll tell you how to get it. I'm sure you're the same, Matt. You tell me, I tell you what I want. You can probably tell me how to get it.
Hmm. How can the audience connect with you?
Look, I've got a YouTube channel, man. That's my favorite place. Like if you just search on YouTube, Better Marriage, Cody Butler. Got about 400 videos on there right now, sort of all kinds of varying topic around what we've been talking about. Great place to start. I've also, if you go to bettermarriage.com, you can get a free copy of seven steps to save your marriage. Uh, if you download that, you'll get some links out of that and stuff like that. It's just an easy place to get started the journey. If you want to learn more about kind of my philosophy and what I do, that's a good free place to start.
And how can the audience support you on your journey?
Oh, just get better, man. Decide what you want and get better. It's like, it's funny. It sounds arrogant, but I've got everything I want. Like nothing I can get today will impact my life. I've got a beautiful wife. I've got beautiful kids. I've got a nice house. I drive a nice car. I live in a nice country. It's like I'm here at this point to contribute. So if you want to support me, go to YouTube, man, and watch some videos. It's like if you want to support me, go let me help you. It's like I'm not really looking to get anything in particular. It's just at this point in my life, I'm kind of in that, I just want to get the message out there to help as many people and reach as many people as possible. So, share some content. That would be fantastic.
Awesome. Well, Cody, I'm really happy that we got to get on this call and learning all about
Likewise, thank you.
relationships. And, you're doing great work, obviously, with everything that you've provided today. I know someone's going to take something away from today that they can actually implement today. And I really appreciate that.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate that. Thanks for having me.
Hey, can you do me a favor? If you enjoyed today's episode and took something away like I did, then could you take a minute and leave a 5-star review in what you took away? Your review could be the difference maker in continuing to get even more amazing guests. You are the reason I continue to create a new podcast every week. Thank you for your continued support. No matter what you choose to do, choose to live, love, and grow. Thank you, and have an outstanding day.